Do we have a mute on here? Was this muted? Go figure. I think I just I think I was muted on YouTube. If I was muted, I'm gonna lose my mind if I was muted on YouTube. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I was. Either way, number here, I'm gonna say it one more time. The number here is 516-623-1240. The way to reach me on through. Oh, look at that! Look at that! Somebody immediately put something into the chat that I was on mute. Go figure. Yeah, we got really good people. We got good people that are listening to the show. Just wish I didn't talk for about 10 minutes without realizing that it was on mute. That's fantastic. What am I? You got me. You got my back. You got me recorded. You got me. You got me covered. So let's just give everybody another happy Valentine's Day. For the people that were listening on mute on the live chat. it's always something, right? First I forget the microphone, then I forget the actual pressing the mute off. It's always something. I can never have a seamless stream for one reason or another. It has to be.
Don't feel bad, Nick, because in radio these things happen.
Oh,
people come in here behind somebody else, and they press the wrong button. Everything off, and they think they're on the air. They're not.
I am quite confident of that. I'm quite confident that things like that happen all the time. But it just seems like there's always something funky happening with my show. Always something. I don't know what it is, but there's always something a little bit kooky going on, or whatever the case is. But that being said, now we're gonna get back. Now we can get to the story. I told everybody how to call in. You could type into the live chat. If you want to email me, the email here, as always, is the real estate plate radio@gmail.com. Why gmail.com? Because I don't want to pay for a paid email. We're using the gmail.com. We're going to be economic. We're trying to keep the cost down for the show. We have to do this. So, as I was starting to say, let's get into the story. You know, you mentioned before about getting the candy and getting the flowers, and what else? What else you get? You get a whiskey. What else are you gonna get on a day like this?
No, I'm just saying, it's like almost like poverty. Everything. Most people generally looking for their stock or something. I mean, when are we going
to tie?
A tie, right? What are we going to, move on from that? I mean, the thing in your leg. Lady's home, probably should be home, working all day long, and you come home with a box of candy.
Well, what do we get? Wait a minute. Let's think of it from this point of view. Valentine's Day is not necessarily for the women only, is it?
No.
I was under the impression that it was for the woman and the man. Or I keep doing this. The woman and the man, or the man and the man, or the woman and the woman, or the other and the other. We have to I
can't go to.
Yeah, well, I have to include everybody. You know what? If I don't, I'd be at fault for not including everybody. So I have to. I know there's some listeners that get a little bit nuts when I say things like this. But you know what? In this climate, in this world, in 2022, I have to include everybody. So we have to include the hims, the hers, the its, the that's, the what's, the other, everything. So we're going to include everybody. Okay. So we'll do that. Now we feel everybody's included. I don't want. I feel better about myself. I don't feel like I dismiss somebody. So I'm happy about that. So let's just say this. Both sides of the equation, theoretically, should be receiving something, right? Now, historically, now today, I don't know how it works. Historically, the female would get a box of chocolates, flowers, sometimes both, maybe a piece of jewelry or something like that, right? That's usually the traditional thing that you get. What does the male get?
I have no idea. I believe that most of the males don't really care that much about Valentine's.
Well,
Mostly about the people that's in your life, I guess.
I have a tendency to agree with you on that. However,
Okay.
however, just like I just said that we have to include. Did I just say we have to include everybody? Shouldn't the males be included somehow?
Maybe they don't.
Are they? Are they really?
I don't think so.
Yeah, well then, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You know, it is it's something different. Anyway, so like I was saying before, I'm gonna get into the story. This happened. Um, and I'm thinking through. It had to be the first year of my doing real estate. It was right around that time. And again, I will repeat this because I don't know if that got caught on the muted part. It's a cautionary tale. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. It's a cautionary tale. And I had a couple, a nice young couple, starting out. They were coming out of an apartment in Astoria, getting ready to do the American thing, the leaving from the city, going to the suburbs, and raising your family thing. You know, the thing that everybody get the white picket fence with the two kids and the dog and everything. You know, the whole nine. They were starting to get that whole feel, and I was there to help them find that first dream home. Okay. So we went through, quite a few houses in the beginning, as far as them looking at what they were interested. And one day we went through, I think, a handful of houses, probably about 3, 4 houses, and we hit across one house that they both really liked. They loved it. The wife, I think they were married at that point. Yeah, no, they were engaged. They were going to get married. Um, she was really happy about it. He was really happy. I could see it. Both of them were really thrilled about it. But I could tell that he was downplaying it a lot. He's like, it's kind of expensive and this and that, whatever the case is. And he kind of shot it down to her. Let's see some more stuff before you commit to this. It's a big move. I can't afford this. Like, maybe it's going to be tight for us, whatever the case is. So we kind of left it at that. The next day, the fiance calls me up and says, Nick, I want to put an offer on the place. I'm like, Joe, so you guys decided and talk? He's like, no, don't mention a thing to her. I'm gonna buy this as a surprise for her, and I want to get the contract signed and put it in a box and give it to her on Valentine's Day. Okay. The contract with the deposit and everything that they put in there. Right. So I'm thinking, wow, this is a crazy, this is a really, really nice Valentine's Day gift, first of all. I'm thinking to myself, this is a really good idea, whatever the case is. In my naive male mind, I'm thinking this is a great idea. Just hold on to that thought, what I just said, that afterthought. In my naive male mind, I thought that it would have been really, really embraced and joy. There will be joy coming out of this. So that being said, we went through a little bit back and forth, negotiations. We finally got an offer accepted. We got everything in place. He finally signed everything, gave a deposit. He had the paperwork. He made a copy of the paperwork, and he put it into a little heart-shaped box. He's so happy. He's so proud of himself. I'm going to take this to her tomorrow, which was Valentine's Day at that point, and she's going to be so excited, whatever the case is. Okay? I'm like, wow, I can't wait to hear it from him. This is like, I'm like, take a picture of her, like her reaction, whatever the case is. This should be great. My naive mind. This is where things start to turn into reality and like what our little fantasy world would think, and we enter the twilight zone. Okay, we enter the twilight zone from this point. So I can't help myself but laughing every time I like even think of this story because I to this day.
I wasn't there, but I can tell you I was going ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So he goes to her all proud and everything. This I'm getting from him. I obviously wasn't witness to this. He told me he goes to her all proud, all happy. He's like, "Happy Valentine's Day! I got a great present for you, whatever the case is." He gives her the box and says, "Please open it up, whatever the case is." And she opens up. She opens up the form. She's like, "What's this?" He's like, "This is the contract for our new house, and I have a copy of the check with the deposit that I gave in there." She's like, "What house?" He's like, "The house we both really love. The one that I kind of downplayed and you thought we weren't going to get, that you really loved, and we were both on board together, right?" She turns around. She turns around. He tells me she went from a look of happiness when she received the present to a look of confusion to a look of anger, complete anger.
Okay.
So she turns around and says, "How dare you? How dare you go make a decision like this on your own without consulting with me and purchasing a house?" And he's like, "I thought you loved it. We both loved it. I made it made the numbers work so we could get it. We're going to buy a house anyway, right? We both loved it now." It's like, how could you go and make a decision like that? How could you, whatever the case? She got into it. She chewed him out. She chewed him out like you never heard before. And not only that, guess who got chewed out next?
You.
Oh yeah.
That was your fault.
Oh yeah. No, well, I don't know if it was my fault. I'm gonna tell you this. I don't know if it was it was thrown at me. It was my fault. What I got chewed out is how could I allow him to do this and not call her up to inform her about it? You get what I'm saying?
Sure, sure.
And I'm like, I thought you would have been happy. And I got the whole all you men are the same. You're all idiots, she tells me. I'm like, I guess we are. I guess we're all idiots. Because in my personal opinion, I could have thought I could never have imagined that somebody would have been so upset about that.
Well, in the first place, Nick, he start off in this relationship been lying to her, even though he had in mind that he wanted to do that. And number two was he went out and made this. He's showing her, okay, that they're not together. Because if you engage,
you're more in tune. You're more in tune with it.
Yeah.
My Neanderthal type of mind is not that in tune.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. So she feel embarrassed. She said, "Well, I can't trust this man. If he wouldn't do this kind of stuff, there's no need for her to be happy."
Long story short, she made a really big deal about it. They still went through with the marriage. They got married.
Okay.
They got like 3 kids right now.
Okay.
They're still in the same house.
Oh, okay.
So it was a big issue for her.
Right.
And as you just said, see, Trevor, you're in tune with your feminine side. I believe that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think you are in tune with your feminine side because I think I'm a Neanderthal. I guess that's more. I thought it was romantic, and to this day, I still think it was a romantic gesture.
Yeah. It's a good thought.
A husband to buy his wife a $600,000. It's not he's buying his mistress the house.
Right.
I bet it was like $600,000 to buy his wife a $600,000 and plop down $150,000 on a deposit.
Right.
I think that's showing that your significant other, that you love them and you're going all in for them. But like you mentioned, you lied to me.
There you go.
You lied to me.
In his mind, he thinks he's doing a good job, and it is today. Most men go out and make decisions on their own because they got this muncher thing and expect, well, I know what my wife wants, so I'm going to go out and buy my rather than consult her first.
Well, the thing is, she really wanted it.
Yeah, but she didn't want it that way. She wanted to be included. She wanted to, be surprised, but not that kind of surprise. Like you lied to her in the first place.
I don't know. That's it.
And that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much. And everybody I've told this story to till today, every single peer person that's passed through and I've told this story to,
Uh-huh.
they have probably had a 50-50 reaction.
Okay.
50% give me your reaction,
Right.
and 50% have more my reaction. Like,
Hmm.
but it was such a nice thing.
Of course, it is a nice
But it's like, but they lie. Now, how much of a percentage do you think the woman reaction is when I tell this story?
I would say about 75 to 80%.
Yeah, it's like 90% to 10%.
Okay. Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. You still have a small fraction of women
Hmm.
that say, well, that was really romantic.
Hmm.
And they're the more of the throwback,
Okay.
more old uh, fashioned, old
Hmm.
school type
Hmm.
of mindset. Well, wow, look what my husband did for me, and that kind of thing. Which again, I'm
Well, I
so
don't, I don't think he's wrong though, Nick. But I want to play the devil advocate here. Okay. If they were married together, it would have been a bigger deal because then how dare you go out and buy a house? But they were married yet; they were just
yeah.
engaged. So now he's doing what he do as a man to try to impress her. To say, listen, I'm going to take control of these things. But I guess she didn't see it that way. So
Well, I look at this from this point of view. He was the only one putting the money down on the house too. That was another thing.
right,
She wasn't putting any money down on the
right,
house.
that's right,
So from that aspect, I think he had a little bit more say
right. Of course.
on what he's purchased, especially because they haven't gotten married
Hmm.
yet. I'm not saying that
Hmm.
he should dismiss her or anything like that. They're obviously going to share the house and live in the house
Right.
and be married together, whatever the case. But he was the one buying the house. It was on his credit, and it was on his. He was the one that taking the loan out for her. She was. I think she was working part time or something
Okay.
like that at that point. So it wasn't even a factor of her like making any kind of
Yeah.
difference on the purchase of it.
Hmm.
But I didn't even look at it from that end.
I think he should get a Nobel Prize for that because not so many men will do that.
Well, how much different is it if somebody goes and buys a a really expensive piece of jewelry, $5, $10, $20,000
Okay.
worth of jewelry?
Right.
Now you're saying it's not the same levels, but
Right. Right.
they're plopping down a heavy amount of money for something,
Okay.
and they're not getting the woman's a blessing on what they're buying for them. They're buying it for them. Sometimes,
Mm.
sometimes you'll have they go together and they pick something out or whatever because which that was always my preference.
Mm.
I'd rather pick something out, whatever you like, whatever it is, as long as I can afford it,
Right.
and it doesn't put me in the poorhouse,
Mm.
and you'd be better off, or you go out and get it yourself, and be happy. That was always my mentality. But there's a lot of people that go out. How many people have you heard that actually go buy a car for their wives?
Mm. Well, listen, these things happen though, Nick. But like I say,
So how much different is it really? I mean, yes, it's a much more expensive purchase,
right.
but out of the sheer intention and the action, the act of it's the same act,
Mm. Of course,
you know.
it's the thought that counts, really. But most people don't look at that. Some people just think I should be included, but at the point from what you're saying, I understand that he's trying to do something on his own by surprising her.
Mhm.
Okay. And
It's
I don't
not-
think he actually really lied to her. He was
Yes.
just trying to.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I know.
And he was 100% sure she wanted the house.
Right.
He just talked her down on it because
Right.
like I don't know if I could afford it and
No.
this and that.
Mhm.
I have to think of it. Let's see some other stuff and we'll revisit it. That kind of. But he knew what he wanted to do at that
Mhm.
point. But he's like, all right, let me kind of slowly, gently. This was very understanding at that point. She didn't make a big deal because you could have some other women that get nuts. Like, How dare you tell me that I'm not good enough for this house, or whatever the case is. You get stuff like that. I'm telling you, you get stuff like that. But that being, it's funny. I was debating so much on what the topic of today's show would have been.
Okay.
I really was. I didn't know what the I really didn't know the approach and what the I don't know hook for today's show was going to be because it's Valentine's Day. It's one of those holidays. How do you really connect those two things? Valentine's Day and real estate.
I think that's in your book, right?
At one point, by the way, for everybody that's listening and watching on the YouTube channel, I actually just dropped in the StreamYard link. If somebody wanted to jump in and show themselves on the stream, they're more than welcome to. You click on it, and I'll let you in, and you could talk on the show. Just no cursing, please, because then Trevor and the FCC is going to be on me. But I was thinking to myself, how do I connect Valentine's Day and real estate? And I was really like grinding it out, like how do I do this? Whatever the case. And at one point, I thought I was going to make it a divorce show. Because think about it like this. It's one of those, maybe it's a twisted thought, but you know what? How many divorces happen? And how many times due to those divorces, do properties need to be liquidated? Homes need to be liquidated, sold off, split out, whatever the case is. Then you got attorneys, you got referees, you got this, you got that, you got inheritors, you got all this crap that's happening like that. It's a big nightmare. So I figured to myself, you know what? Let's save that show for another time.
Okay.
And maybe I'll have a divorce attorney on with me, and we could actually discuss it and kind of give some hints and tips to everybody, telling them on if you're ever in the unfortunate position to have to deal with this, of how to deal with it.
I did a show a few years ago. Both the wife and the husband was lawyers, and they gave them both sides of divorce, what to expect when you get a divorce, and what intel, what kind of lawyer to get. And they had that show on WGBB for many years. I was an engineer, and I'm telling you, you hear some stuff, man. People get divorced for all kinds of reasons. It's just crazy.
I'm telling you, and in the position I'm in. Here's the thing. Here's the really interesting thing. Sometimes we get caught in the middle of a lot of things. You get hired by the husband or the wife. You get hired by one, and then the other one doesn't want you to be the one representing them, and then you have to get another person on the other side, and then you have to work together in order to get the thing. It gets really complicated. Sometimes it gets really nasty. How about this? While you're in the process of selling the place, they decide they want to get divorced. They didn't have intentions, but it's happened. Right in the middle of a sale. You know how that complicates things? Complicates things a lot. And now you're sitting there. You have to play sides. And how do you play sides? You're supposed to be neutral.
But you mean you're talking from a real estate place?
Right.
Okay. Yeah,
like you're stuck in the middle. Like how do you like?
Yeah, you can't take one over the other because you're representing both of them.
Yeah. Unless one is legitimately insane or abusive.
Oh, they would say that.
Or abusive. No. Well, listen. If somebody's clinically insane and they're taking pills to keep themselves calmed down or whatever the case is,
right.
So they're crazy with papers. Not me saying they're crazy.
Okay.
They got medical doctors telling them you got mental issues.
Okay.
That's not me saying it.
Oh, okay, I got you.
That's a different story we're talking about.
Right.
Or here's the thing where it could get bad, where because of the squabbles and the internal problems that they're having, they become abusive to everybody outside.
Okay.
And you're in the front line of getting that abusive type of treatment. And that's where it becomes really delicate and really tough to deal with because you're in a position you understand it's very sensitive. They're having, they're going through a really really tough time, very tough time. But it's not your fault. You didn't create that problem. You didn't create the problem. It's something that happened amongst themselves. So you shouldn't be the recipient of their anger, which equals abuse towards you for their problems. And it turns into that a lot of times. A lot of times. And
Is
then,
that scary?
huh?
It ever get scary like that?
Um,
Because you don't know how. So if you don't say the right thing, the man might begin to take that personal. If so I'm just saying,
and vice versa.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
You have a complicated.
I don't know if I never consider it to be scary
Oh, okay.
when it's like that. I'll tell you why. Because what's the worst thing they could do? Take the business from me? It's going to be the next person's problem, and they're going to have to deal with the same kind of combustible situation.
Right.
So I'm not scared from that end.
Okay.
The only time I want to say I felt uneasy or a little bit on edge, and it's happened a couple of times where the divorce is happening, and there's a lot of jealousy that's in the mix.
Okay.
There's a lot of jealousy that's in the mix, and because you're spending a lot of time with these people, both the husband and the wife, you might be in the house as the husband comes back to the house talking to his wife, and they might all of a sudden get ideas in their head. Like, why are you here? What do you? Well, I just did a showing, right? Show the house, whatever. Because I was just talking to your wife, giving her an update, and giving her some feedback before, and all of a sudden it becomes into something else unnecessarily. So now you're getting some jealousy that's in the mix, misdirected anger. They're angry and they don't know how to let it out. So they're just angry at everybody. Especially in a situation where the wife or the husband did get caught cheating or something like that. Now it gets even more combustible.
I understand. Yeah.
And the thing that I like, because I've learned my lessons, like of not putting myself in situations like that.
Okay.
If I ever have situations where it's a divorce thing and I see that kind of vibe happening, I'll bring in a woman agent with me as well.
Okay.
And we'll purposely alternate.
Okay.
Where I will speak to the husband and
she would speak to the wife.
Yeah, just to make it a little bit more.
Right.
Unless, here's the thing that 2022 has changed. Unless the woman were with another woman, that could complicate things even more.
Lord have mercy.
Well, you're laughing. You think that can't happen?
Oh, no. It does happen.
Or if the husband goes with another guy. Now what do you do?
Now, that's a mess. And when things like that happen, my only concern if they have kids, that can really, really, damage them for a long time.
Absolutely.
And so when people do that kind of stuff, they're only thinking of themselves. But if they got kids, that's what they really should be thinking about, and trying to minimize a lot of stuff because this affects a lot of young people, and they go hating their parents. So, because you did this or you did that, you hate my mom or you hate my dad, and all that stuff go on,
Yeah.
So it's got to be a balance somewhere.
Yeah, I mean that's who always pays for it, the kids.
Yeah.
And so that's why ideally, I mean, this is not a marriage show or a divorce show, but anybody listening, no matter what kind of issues you have, no matter what kind of petty things that are going on amongst you, no matter how serious they are, they could be dead serious, unless it's criminal.
Right.
If it's criminal, it's criminal. There's nothing, or if it's like really bad, But if it's just your normal type of disputes, we'll call them. I don't know how we could call anything normal, but a given dispute that you normally have for divorcing and that kind of thing that's not criminal related or something like that. Forget it all. I mean, you don't have to give it all up or forget it all, but just put the kids ahead of everything else and put your pride to the back.
That's right.
Yeah, and no matter how right you might be,
Mm-hmm.
swallow your pride. Uh, take the back seat if you have to, and if it's going to mean the kids are going to be in a better situation. Otherwise, what's the point of you being a father or mother? You know?
I learned personally, man, that if you're trying to get a message across to one another and it doesn't seem to register, somebody should say, well, listen, let's try this another day, and maybe another week. Let's give ourselves some time to think about this, and then maybe we can come back again. But at the moment, when two parents are heated
Yeah,
and going at each other, nobody's thinking.
yeah, that's the
And
thing.
then later on, they're both sorry because they never come together and talk. Talking is the best thing in any remedy, man. If you can talk, you can find out what's going on. But if you're just yelling at each other, it's time to listen.
Well, communication is a very big thing.
It is.
It's the ultimate thing. Is the most important
Yeah,
thing.
that's right.
Absolutely, it absolutely is. But it's tough.
Hmm. Hmm.
But could you imagine you trying to sell somebody's house and they're accusing you of sleeping with their wife
I never even, thought about that.
or
Yeah,
flirting with their wife?
yeah.
Or I've got a lot of that.
That must be a jealous husband, huh?
That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about a jealous situation or a situation where somebody cheated on one or the other.
Wow.
It happens more with the women though. Like
Oh,
you have a good looking realtor woman
right, 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 right,
that's
right,
talking to the husband.
right.
The women, you get women are scarier when it comes to those kind of reactions.
But that's something I never understand. I mean, I'm only speaking for me. Where one person would cheat on each other, for what? Few minutes excitement. I mean, unless you're going to make a life with this person, why would you cheat on them? I mean, if you're cheating, then you're looking to get a divorce because once two people come together, they sharing feelings with one another,
Well,
and no matter
people,
what happens, I mean, people are gonna do what they want to do.
yeah,
It's their problem. But to me, I'm basically about if you got kids, you ought to govern yourself as adults.
a little bit control.
With control, man.
Yeah,
That's where I go.
yeah. I mean, that's unfortunately some people they can't help themselves. Unfortunately, you don't know sometimes what happens between closed doors and stuff like
There you
that.
go. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I'm not justifying it in any way
No,
whatsoever.
no.
To
We
each
just
their,
talking. We just,
to each their own. I
that's
really
all.
say that.
Right.
Just taking a moment to point out that I'm having a Starbucks coffee. How'd you do with your
Oh,
contact?
I talked to my friend Jones. He said he was going to look into it. He said that's what he told me. He
And
said,
you're getting a lot of this.
no, no, no. He's the type of guy like this that he's more of a very honest person, and he does have connection.
Let's
But
see.
no, I don't know what I should have told him, or what he should have asked me. What store was this, and where was this take place? So he could maybe make a phone call or making contact. You know what I mean? That's what you gotta have to text me and let me know. So next time I talk to him,
All right.
you don't want to call the name of the store over the air because you don't want nobody thinking you're pointing them out and stuff like that.
No, you would say that any Starbucks in general, I
There
mean,
you
they're
go.
all corporate owned. Doesn't
That's
matter about any specific location or not.
right, right,
It really doesn't. Yeah, I got my places that I frequent more than the others because they're closer to me.
right.
But it doesn't matter what store. It's all one big pocket for any of the stores you go
Right,
to.
right.
There's very few private, part private ownership of Starbucks.
Hmm.
Starbucks are all corporate owned. I think there's a handful that have private owners that are involved.
I didn't know that.
Very few, like in Harlem,
Hmm.
because Magic Johnson was the one that
Hmm.
actually helped.
Right, right.
What he did for Harlem.
Hmm.
Everybody loves to uh, point out Bill Clinton
Hmm.
bringing a different vibe to Harlem, which he did.
Right, right,
I'm not taking anything away from him,
right.
but the guy that put his stamp
Mhm.
and brought life back to Harlem and
Mhm.
put it back on the map, that was Magic Johnson.
Right.
He's a really smart businessman,
Hmm.
and he does not get the amount of credit he
Credit,
deserves.
right, right.
Honestly, he does not. I think he's phenomenal.
Hmm.
Phenomenal for his business
Hmm.
acumen. He has done great. he made some poor decisions as far as the whole sex thing and everything like that.
That was very poor. Yeah.
You know, you talk about the cheating, you know, he made some poor decisions on that end. And I don't know, there was an angel on his shoulder.
Okay.
There was something looking at it from above for him. Because when he got AIDS,
right,
was it late 80s, early 90s?
It was better control of it then, right?
That was a death sentence at that point.
Yeah.
That was a death sentence.
But he had the money.
There was other people that had money.
Yeah. Or maybe he got some kind of.
There was a lot of other people that had a lot of money. There's so many people that passed away during that time.
Right.
Very big, famous people. The singer from Queen, remember Freddie Mercury?
Oh, I know. Yeah,
that guy had money. You know, there was people that very affluent, very wealthy people that didn't matter. It was a death sentence. He had something like he took the efforts and he did a lot of experimental stuff to do, but it was something on his shoulder.
That was really
watching and guiding him to survive.
Right.
And while this was all happening, he was building an empire with his businesses.
Right.
So I will give him a lot of credit when it comes to that. I really would, you know, because it was not enough is being said about that. You know, everybody's talking about what LeBron James is doing and everything like that with his businesses and that kind of thing, which is, you know what, you can't take away from anything what he's doing. He built up a brand and stuff like that, but he's also making a tremendous amount more money that he could invest than what Magic Johnson did back then. Yes, Magic Johnson back then made a lot of money, but it was peanuts compared to what these basketball players are making right now.
That's true.
And endorsement money and all that stuff.
Right.
You know? So I give him a lot of credit. A lot of credit. Him and Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan, yeah. They got owned after some of the teams that they invested in all that stuff.
Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson, I think, don't get enough credit for it. I mean, Michael Jordan gets credit for being the greatest basketball player of all time. And I don't care what anybody tells me. At least in my lifetime, he was the greatest I ever saw. He might not be an athletic genetic freak the way LeBron James is. Listen, if you wanted to sculpt a human being and define all the muscles and everything and make the perfect, iconic body for an athlete, you're going to take LeBron's body and put that in there. The skills, the athleticism, it was all there. What he doesn't have that Michael Jordan had, and this goes for everything, business-wise, the best businessman, the best in anything. He had that killer instinct. He was relentless. And that is the one key attribute, the same thing that defines and separates everybody, no matter what sector you're in. No matter what sector you're in, he had that killer instinct. Look at where we're at right now. The radio studios. You know? How many DJs and how many guys doing a stupid show the way I'm doing right now are there? We're a dime a dozen.
Yeah, you're right.
Truth, right?
Yeah.
Who are the guys that they get through? That actually make a name and an impact? Not that many.
No.
But the ones that have that killer instinct, they have that drive, they have that passion to get it
further, get it, do what you gotta do. Yeah, that's true.
They're the ones that do something more. Everybody, you could make yourself a nice little career, be happy, you make enough money to live nicely and that kind of thing. Nothing wrong with that. But the guys that want to thrive and get to that next level and just punch the industry, like a Howard Stern or a Rush Limbaugh. Here's another one. You know,
all them people that start out in radio and they make millions of dollars and got millions of fans.
Well, remember what PLJ had done years ago?
Yep.
Years ago, they put their stamp on the market where they had nothing. Now, you see what PLJ's become now?
Yeah, I know. People making billions of dollars doing podcasts. You know what I'm saying?
But it's just like everything. Michael Jordan was that killer.
Yeah.
So I don't care what anybody tells me. He is the greatest of all time. Now, the only guy you can debate with me, and give me a good argument, and I can't fight you on it, is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh yeah. He's a class by himself, really. That's it. Yeah.
That's the only one you could bait, and that's not fair either. Because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a 7-footer that played center and basically could do whatever you want with anybody you wanted. The only one that really gave him a hard time was Will Chamberlain. And he was another specimen.
And he's tall too.
He was another specimen.
Yeah.
You know, he was another specimen. Will Chamberlain was the LeBron James of his era. Because he was a genetic freak.
Right.
He would bench 400 or 500 pounds. Well, nobody did it back then. A basketball player?
I know.
Nobody would do that stuff. It's amazing.
Right.
It's absolutely amazing. I mean, like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, this is going to be a lighthearted show. We're not going to be like going crazy on anything like that. Yeah, we went a little off topic, but you know what? It was good to give credit to credit to. Like Magic Johnson, he did a lot of business moves, but he did a lot of real estate moves as well.
Oh really? Oh,
yeah. He, I'm telling you, what he did for Harlem, was a big deal.
Right.
You ever go by Harlem lately?
No, I haven't been over there in a while, but
when was the last time you went there?
Many years, man. I don't really particularly care about the city. I don't really have to do any business in there.
Well, I don't blame you.
Yeah, I don't really go there because there's too much going on.
If you don't have to, why would you go?
Yeah.
So I remember Harlem, early 90s. I actually used to date a girl that went to Columbia University.
Okay.
So I would go there late at night, pick her up, drop her off, hang out there, whatever the case is. But, you know, Columbia University is a nice little isolated university campus. And then all of a sudden around it was like downtown Beirut. You know, it was like downtown Iraq. It was not necessarily a place that you really wanted to linger and hang out for a lot, especially an 18, 19-year-old little white guy like me.
In the neighborhood like that, right?
You didn't belong. You stuck out.
Right.
You stuck out a little bit, and you know. It was a different environment. I saw a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I hear you.
You saw pimps on the corners. You saw this. Mid-90s going to the late 90s, the rejuvenation happened. That's when Magic Johnson got involved. That's towards the end of the 90s when Clinton finished his term. He opened up his office down there. Everything started to change. Money started being poured into there. 125th Street, where the Apollo is, all that stuff. Money started pouring in, and everything was happening. Those brownstones that you couldn't give away. There were crack houses. There were crack house brownstones that nobody wanted to touch. People were buying apartment buildings for $1 from the city.
From the city, that's right. I heard about that. Yeah.
You know, they were buying them for $1 from the city with the sole purpose of investing in it and building them back up. And even that couldn't work at that point. It took a couple of major influential names to go there to bring the attraction for the rest of the money to come in. And now, well, throughout the 2000s, money. You bought a piece of property one day. The next day, it's still going at a premium. It just was happening. Well, we ran into a little bit of a wall right before COVID, and where it should have been doing better now, because the real estate market is doing well in New York, where it should have been doing better. I feel because of the crime and everything that was happening. It subdued it again. Now, we'll see what happens now. I'm hoping. Adams, you better not make me look bad. You know?
Well, he do have his hands full, that's for sure.
But you know what? I don't care what he does right now. The one thing that we all had as a given, I think we all had as a given on this one, was that he was going to step up the security and the police force. And he was going to make the city safe.
That's right.
Or safer, the way it should be. That's the one thing. I have no faith in anything else. I really don't. Because the mess that de Blasio left behind.
It's going to take a long time to dig out.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know why he wanted this position. It is probably the worst position you could possibly get. Yeah, well, yes and no, because one, it can't get worse than what de Blasio did. So anything he does is going to be looking better. But there's so much damage that was done. And a lot of the damages that were done during his regime are going to still be playing out for the next 4 years. So he's going to keep taking all the bullets for it. So I don't know why he would want that. But the one thing that I have faith in, because of his past, because of his history, because of his ties to the police force, I had faith, and I still have faith, that he'll do the right thing. I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing I had confidence in. Everything else, it's a puppet. Say what all these other politicians are puppets.
Well, he got 4 years to try to make a difference. So let's see what happens.
You know what? Time is clicking.
I know.
Month one is already gone.
Right.
You know, what do you want to talk about stuff like that? All in New York State. We don't have to wear masks, right? The mandates dropped, right? Not in the city. Not in the city.
Yeah, well, politicians, like you say, gonna, wherever the wind blows, that's where they're gonna.
And honestly, I don't even care about the mask thing. I really don't care about the mask. If he tells us that we should wear the mask for another 6 months, whatever. This bothers me. You're not sticking a syringe in me. The vaccine thing bothers me more. The vaccine that they're forcing everybody to take it bothers me more. And regardless if it's good for you or not, it just gives me vibes. It just gives me like those vibes of like World War II Nazi regimes where they're coming in and they're telling you we're gonna stick you with things and we're gonna put poison in your system. And let's see what happens. You get what I'm saying? Like it just gives me those vibes. You know, I think there would have been a much better result if they didn't force people to do it and just kept telling people what the positive results are over and over again, and it gets into their heads. You know, there were so many more people that died from the flu, the regular flu, over the years. They never forced you to take a flu vaccine, right? It was your option. And people took it voluntarily by the millions. People were telling you because they felt that it was better for them to take. The same thing could have been with COVID shots. But because they're taking such a heavy hand, it's polarized everybody. You know? And the one thing, again, I'm not going to argue with this. I'm not going to turn this into a vaccine show, whatever I'm going to call it with. I do not like the fact that they're trying and even indicating to force little kids to have taken. I think that's a dangerous thing that they're doing. They're playing with other children's lives. They're playing with other people's children's lives. And most of these politicians are old, decrepit mummies that are sitting in their chairs. No, I'm just going to say it. They're old, decrepit mummies that are in the 80s and 90s and 70s that have already had their kids. Their grandkids are already gone. What do we care? You know? What do we care? You get what I'm saying? It bothers me a lot. You don't play with other kids' lives. Other people's kids' lives. Anyway, that being said, happy Valentine's Day on that note. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a happy Valentine's Day. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of the week. Make lots and lots of money. I believe next week we have a day off from the real estate plate. I will put a couple of live streams on throughout the week, and we'll be back the following week. Until then, have a great night. Have a great week. And we'll be again 2 Mondays. Have a good night, everyone.